Good afternoon to you. My name is Jay Query. Jimmy Cook here as well. Eddie Garrison back in studio for us. It is Query & Company live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Alex Palou, I think, is going to join us here in just a little bit. But the big topic of conversation, obviously, over the course of today, Jimmy, is game number 5 in the NBA Eastern Conference semifinals between the Pacers and Knicks, and Indiana and New York both a chance to grab a real stranglehold on the series, but for Indiana in particular, because it would be 3 straight coming back to Indiana if they were to win it. But still a big one tonight.
Yeah, it's a massive, pivotal Game 5 where momentum can totally shift, and the tempo, not just of the series, but just game to game as things move on, gets amplified. Yes, you're going on the road to the Garden, where the Knicks have been as good as anybody within the NBA playoffs this year. You're going in a tough environment where Dante DiVincenzo, where Josh Hart, where Jalen Brunson, where their role players have been able to play better, though it should be noted, and we knew this going into yesterday, that for the Knicks, no OG Anunoby for Game 5. So that's a big loss for them, as that continues to be a likely extended absence for him, where the Pacers are able to capitalize for the shorthanded Knicks. Hartenstein, as you documented, Jake, hurting his arm in Game 4. What will his availability be like? The chess pieces are set up for the Pacers to take advantage and potentially, as you mentioned, have a 3-2 series lead going back to Cambridge on Friday.
You know, we should get the entire breakdown of the game from Alex Palou. Get every little bit of information possible from Alex Palou about Pacers and Knicks, right?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if I'm the most.
Pacers are going to win, right?
Absolutely, they will.
That's exactly what we want to hear. Hey, welcome to the show, Alex Palou. Of course, coming off of a really impressive day on Saturday in the Sonsio Grand Prix and picking up the win there, where what you do, as I noticed, is you just don't make mistakes here, man. Like, you get out to the lead, you get going, and then there's just a precision. How much of race car driving is rhythm and confidence, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I did a couple of mistakes, man. Like, we started P1, lost the lead there. I just went into the locked my front right, and Lundgaard was able to get by. But, yeah, the car was solid. I was able to get into a rhythm. And I would say this is one of the only places where you have to go 100% every single lap, because the tire deck is not really high. And, yeah, it was about not making mistakes, trying to open the gaps. There was a late yellow that put us there in a bit of danger, but yeah, so happy to get the first points win of the season.
Well, here's the thing, all attention changes now, as you know, for this city, for the fans, everything, to the Indy 500, and
the Pacers,
and the Pacers. That's right. You know that Pacers and racers, right?
Yes.
And you listen, your number 10 DHL Honda is going to be for Chip Ganassi Racing. A real favorite, I think, in this race. You were not able to turn laps today. How much, and I don't know that we're going to. I mean, I think it's going to be like this probably the majority of the day. But how much learning is still out there? How much do you clamor to get back onto the oval?
Yeah, I mean, every day you learn so much. And especially, we tested here back like a month ago or something, and it was a different car for us. Like, it's an actual different car, so we need to start again with a brand new car. It's the same as last year, but I mean, we haven't run it since the end of Indy 500 last year. We need to check that everything is good. I need to get comfortable again, need to get the gaps again good, and just knowing how the car feels on traffic alone, with tire deck, and it's such a special place that you always learn. And there's as we are so many different sessions out on track, there's moments when you feel super happy with the car, and there's going to be moments where you feel like, oh man, this is really uphill for us. But everybody goes through these phases, having so many sessions. But yeah, I'm comfortable that hopefully we can improve a little bit to what we had last year.
Alex, at what point ideally in the week do you know, or do you feel like, okay, the car's ready to go, we're ready to go out there and try to win this thing?
Hopefully, by the first run, you already have some feelings.
Really?
You already know that. I mean, if it's bad, you know that it's gonna get uncomfortable. And yes, you have time to get it comfortable. But I mean, when you start with a base that probably doesn't suit you, or something in the car that doesn't allow you to feel super comfortable, you know that it's gonna be a long week.
How many different follow me here. How many different cars will you drive this week? And by that I mean, I know it's the same cockpit you're getting in, but you will change the car to how many different setups to find the sweet spot?
It depends. I mean, if you can look at the scoreboard now, everybody that is above 224, I would say that they are pretty comfortable. They have a really good base, even though they've done only 9 laps. But to be able to do 229, 228, 225, it means that you are comfortable with your car and you have a lot of confidence. So they are not going to go through very big changes. I'm sure that they will go through 2 or 3, but no more than that. The rest, it depends. They probably go through more big changes. And even though if you go out and you feel amazing, there might be ways to feel even better. So we always try, especially when we have a base that we think it's like really close to being 100%, we say, okay, let's find another way. Let's find a completely different setup because it might be even better to what we have. So sometimes we found that stuff. Normally it doesn't work like that because, I mean, this car's been out for so long and the tires are different to last year, but they are still similar. So there's not much to find.
You have lived in, Alex Palou, our guest from Chip Ganassi Racing. You have lived in Indy now for how long?
This is my 4th year.
Okay, let me tell you why I asked that and what fascinates me about it. You grew up, I know that you're from Barcelona, Spain. Is that the city where you actually grew up, or did you just live there most recently in Spain?
No, yeah. I grew up there, like probably, I don't know, 40, 50 minutes away.
Okay, so Barcelona, I mean, I was able to go to Barcelona for the only time, but for the first time, I don't know, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's this, I mean, honestly, it may be the best city in the world. Now, I have not been to all cities, but I've been a fair amount of places, and I'm like, this place it's got Los Angeles in it. It's got a part that felt like New York. It's fantastic. So my question is, what, if anything, in any way, shape, or form, is a part of Indianapolis that makes you feel at home?
I mean, they're very different to what I'm used to in Spain. But I don't know. I feel like home when you have friends around, when you have your place that you like, and when you have your work here. So it feels like home for me. I wouldn't really change it. Like, I love Barcelona. Like, I love it. Every time I'm there, I'm in love. But I don't really miss it that much. I miss my family, but I don't miss the city itself. I know it's always going to be there for me.
What parts of Indy do you like? Like, what part, when you're away from the track, you're getting away from you got a young family now. What part do you say, this is a cool place?
I don't move much. Like, I'm around Carmel, Zionsville, that area. I go sometimes to downtown, but not much. It's a bit busy for me. But then I go to the shop and I go back home, and that's my routine. Go to the gym. I don't really move much. I don't really go out much. I don't really eat out much. Yeah,
really?
I'm a guy that stays home a lot, especially now with the babies.
Well, see, that's what I want you to give Jimmy advice, because Jimmy Cook, Alex Palou, Jimmy just found out recently that he's going to be a father for the first time.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
Now, you just, I was saying at the end of the broadcast, Alex, when you were coming around after the white flag, I said, tomorrow he's going to celebrate Mother's Day with his wife for the very first time. Yeah. Because you just had your first child in December, right?
Absolutely.
So what advice do you have to Jimmy here?
Enjoy, man. It's enjoy. Listen to your wife. That's the most important. You need to listen, even though you think you don't know, and enjoy, man. It's amazing. It changes every day. I'm a very new father. Like, I cannot really tell you much, but it's amazing. It's been 5.5 months of pure joy. It gets hard, but it's amazing hard. It's not like hard,
right?
Where you say like, oh, I cannot do it anymore. It's like hard that you're like, oh, this feels nice.
How much sleep do you get? Oh, sorry.
It was the same question, actually.
Basically, yeah.
I do a lot. She's very good, honestly. Sleeping-wise, she wakes up once. Sometimes she does the full night, but she wakes up once for like 10 minutes, gets a snack, which is a bottle, obviously, and then goes back to sleep. So she's been good to us.
Where have you found, or have you at this point, the balance between your career and, being a dad? Like, how much has that changed in the short, like you mentioned, 5-6 months?
Doesn't change much. I mean, when you think about how much time I was putting into my preparation, and how much time I thought I was putting into my preparation, but I was not really. I haven't had to change much. Like, I wake up a bit earlier now. I go to the gym first thing in the morning, so I know I get that down. It's the most important thing. And then I have a couple of meetings, which that's what they said in the team or Honda or whatever. But the rest of the day, I am free. So I'm a lot busier now. But it didn't really change on my preparation. It actually motivated me more because I'm like, man, you cannot really lose time here and not preparing yourself, because you don't only need to worry about yourself and your wife, but when it's a kid, you know that you need to take care of that little human being.
Which was to you, Alex Palou, a more surreal or nerve-wracking reality? Looking down and realizing that you're a father and you now have the responsibilities that come with that, or the first time coming here, qualifying into the Fast 9 as a rookie, and the daunting task of 200 laps here?
It's a different nerve-wracking moment. I would say that I've been preparing for racing since I was 5. It's different races. It's go-kart. It gets bigger, but it's the same. It's a race, and the Indy 500 and qualifying, it's huge, and it's nerve-wracking. But
how old were you the first time you knew of the Indy 500?
I was probably, I don't know, like 10, 11, 12, around that. I was pretty young for being in Europe. But you prepare for racing since I was 5. But nobody prepared me to be a dad. And then suddenly there's a baby arriving in this world. So I would say being a dad is more like, oh my God, what do I do now? Like, how does this work? And is it like, do I now take the baby? Like, I remember when they told us to go home, I was like, are you not coming with us? Like, so what do you want me to do now as a dad? So it's amazing.
Now, Alex Palou, you know, when Helio Castroneves won his 4th Indianapolis 500, Alex Palou's our guest, the driver of the number 10 DHL for Chip Ganassi Racing. When you were the one chasing Castroneves, and it was a cat and mouse game the last several laps, you were a younger driver then. How much have you watched those laps, and how much do you recall those laps because you learned from it?
I do, and I watch it quite often, not to punish myself, but to be like, hey, I think you could do a little bit better than that. And at that time, it was my first race on an oval leading ever at the Indy 500 against Helio Castroneves. So, I mean, what can go wrong, right? Like, it's what are the odds that your first fighting Indy 500 has to be against probably one of the best drivers around here. So I watched it. I don't think, well, obviously I was not prepared to win because I didn't. But I think I have a lot more experience now. I don't know if I would win that race because he was timing everything perfectly. But I think I would have done some things differently to try and win it.
Well, now, I mean, I guess if the situation presents itself again, do you revert back to that and say, okay, this is when he made that move and that made it that much harder for me to catch up with so many laps left, etc.?
Yes, absolutely. There's key points that he did that he thought about. He was like thinking laps ahead, right? I was just thinking about, oh, he overtakes me, I overtake him back. And I was not thinking. I was just racing. And
have you ever talked to him about it?
Yeah. Actually, after the race, I was like, I remember that I said, so did you plan on the traffic? Because there was traffic coming up. And that's what I think that screwed. Not screwed, but that what caught me off guard, that for me, traffic was not there and suddenly they popped up. But he was seeing the traffic, like you could see if you were looking far ahead. And I said, hey, did you plan on it? And he looked at me, he smiled, and he was like, of course.
Do you think there's a moment where stuff like that slows down for a driver?
Yes, I think so. I think once you know that you are in the zone, like once you've been through those moments, you plan ahead. And the good thing about this place, and good and bad thing, is that you always have new stuff. You have always new stuff and different stuff to think about. It can be the traffic or it can be no traffic, but it can be the tow, and you have to just overtake him out of 4 because he's not good out of 4 or whatever. Like, it's it always keeps on changing. It's always different because you always race against different cars and drivers. And that's why it's so special. It's so hard to win.
Lastly, Alex, you know, I think a lot of people know this, but for those that don't, you had agreed in principle to McLaren. I think it was last year. My years all run together. I'm older. But, and then obviously you still had a year left with Ganassi. You're still there. That kind of panned itself out, but there was all kinds of legal, contractual stuff there, and it had to be a distraction. Is that all behind you? How have you navigated through that? Because it obviously has turned out really well for you in terms of in the race car, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was 2 years ago when everything started, and it was continuing to be a media thing last year, but it didn't really affect because it was already a year old,
right.
And it was different stuff, but it kept on going. It was the same thing. So not everything is 100%, but it's behind or it's not on my front windshield. It's more like the side, and I don't really look at it.
But how did you, and I'm going to ask this for people listening that are going through a tough time, because you went through, I think, a tough time, but yet you couldn't tell it. It didn't affect, I'm sure it affected you, but it didn't affect your results. It didn't seem to affect your focus. It didn't affect your personality in interviews. I mean, you were like the same pleasant guy, but yet you had to be like, quit asking me about this, like you probably are now. But for people that are listening that are going through a tough time in their life, how did you navigate through it?
Well, I don't think it was such a tough time if you compare to other people lives.
Right.
Like, I think I'm super lucky. Yes, there was a lot of controversy going on. There was big issues going on, legal stuff, blah, blah, blah. I was healthy. My family was healthy. I was still racing cars, and there was just two people fighting for me, and I was getting in trouble, not taking the right decisions. But that's it. That it's not the end of the world. So obviously not proud about that, not proud about some decisions I took. But when I really thought about, like, hey, how bad I am, I was not that bad.
Okay, I'm going to show you something here real quick before we let you go, and you tell me if it looks familiar at all.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm putting you a test here. You can't the background, not the people, but the background. Does that look at all familiar?
Oh man, not from here.
Okay. So when I was in Barcelona,
Yeah.
I annoyingly reached out to you and said, listen, I need a place to go where there are no tourists, where if you are in Barcelona, where you would go. And
that's a place.
You first said, funny, because there's nowhere in Barcelona with no tourists, right? And then you pointed out this bar.
Yes.
It's right there on the beach. I forget the name of it.
I don't know the name now, but yeah, I remember.
But that's exactly where you sent us.
And you liked it?
It was perfect. Honestly, it was perfect.
There's almost no people.
And totally. It was great. And we went and just had like lunch and a beer and watched people surf. And I'm like, that was the best call ever, right? So lastly, Alex, in terms of great calls, tonight, Game 5, it's 2-2 Pacers, Knicks apiece. I saw you at one Pacer game once, so I don't know if you're a Pacer fan, if you were just there for the game, how much you get a chance to watch it.
I was there just for the game. I don't follow much, but I'm a Pacer fan, obviously, because I'm from here.
Okay, so who wins Game 5 tonight, Pacers or Knicks?
Pacers by far, 100%.
All right.
They have no chance. I'm sorry.
All right, there we go. Alex Palou, again, going to be – now, didn't get a chance to turn any laps today, right?
Not yet, but it's okay. We have a long time, and at least Scott is in P1. He feels good with the car.
I was going to say, he obviously feels pretty good about the car, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, hey, have a safe month, all right, or a safe week, and we look forward to watching you in qualifying and in the 108th Indianapolis 500 as well, and look forward to having you back on. We always have the winner on Monday, so we'll see. Right?
I'll see you Monday then.
All right, appreciate it. Alex Palou, driver of the number 10 DHL Honda for Chip Ganassi Racing, and certainly one to watch. As he had mentioned, his teammate Scott Dixon, fastest today, 229.107 miles an hour, just in front of Marco Andretti and Takuma Sato. Those are the front three.